All right. So, um, what was everybody's initial thoughts on the chapters that we read this time? Because for me, I don't know, I like the plot right now. I think that it's getting really good and it's just keeps you involved all the time. And I really like that about the book. It's very fast paced. So I don't know, I think that it's still so good.
I thought the chapter with Father Travis was like the most interesting because
hmm
I didn't expect him to be like that because he was kind of like not really how you would imagine a priest to be acting.
hmm
I don't know. I just thought that that was like kind of funny and kind of weird and yeah.
Yeah, I liked that part.
Yeah, I like that too. I also like though that the two people who, at least in Joe's mind, were like these the two main suspects. Like in this section we read, it's like, well, they're both cleared. So now it's as the reader, it's like, well, where do we go from here? If the two people who we thought, did it or were caused of it, they're cleared. So I
Right.
don't know. I think it's interesting.
But Grace had died, correct? Like she passed away, right?
Wait, no. I think it was Betty was the one who died. Her
Okay.
adoptive mother died. Oh yeah, Grace died too. They both died.
But yeah, because I was like, I think that Grace is already out because she had already passed. But I think that there's still like the room where Lyndon could be a possibility because that you know how the chapter ended and it was like, oh, he's done some things like he cracked or something, and then she was like, oh yeah, he did some things that he probably should have got caught for.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like the book keeps setting us up to think that like a certain person is guilty, but maybe we don't even know like everything that's happened so far. Like maybe we don't even know like all of the people that could be possibilities. We're just given people that seem a little suspicious, but like no more evidence on them besides that.
I have to say though, I think the book's written well to the point where we don't know everybody. It's not like if it was
Mhm.
like, especially that Joe is telling it and he refers to the past of this happening. So he, as he's telling this, knows who did it. But I like that we just get his mindset in the moment of, well, this is who I think it is right now in this time, instead of this is who it was. But here's, it's we're going through his process like we're with him, which is just very well done. So
Mhm.
And
Yeah, I think that even like when it opened, like chapter 5, when we first like our first chapter of this section, it was really important just because the family, I just thought that the flowers were like really symbolic of what was going on because the mother used to like want to garden, she'd want to go outside and be a part of just I don't know, like just do things that she really usually want to do. But ever since the attack, like he was saying that she didn't care that the flowers bloomed. She didn't care that the one she already had died. Like it didn't matter to her. And I was like, that's very sad, but it kind of just shows like what's going on in the book right now.
I like it though. What you were just saying though about the flowers is that this is. I like that they do a good job setting it up. Of in the opening of I think chapter 5, it's her or it's Joe saying how every summer when the flowers bloom, his mother would run down the stairs to like greet them as if they were people, and it just shows you how much she loved it and what's really going on because we all have stuff that we love, and just the thought of being so destroyed mentally, emotionally, and physically that you can't even enjoy. And for her instance, the one thing she waits all year for is to just go see her flowers and to spend time. If she has no will to do it or even look at what Joe has done for her, then that just like shows you to another level of how much like lower she has sunk than just what has previously been written. Because I know in the first chapters it was like she was sleeping it off, she was getting up and going around the house some more, but now it's like this has destroyed her to the point where she can't even enjoy life anymore.
Right.
And it also
Because
kind
it,
of Joe snap.
no, you go ahead.
It also like it made Joe snap kind of because he was already frustrated with the fact that like she wasn't doing anything, but then he showed her like the one thing that she like every year she just loves to do and she wasn't interested in all. And he was like, "What is wrong with you? Like snap out of it, get out of bed, do something." It's just
Mhm. And she did finally get animated a little bit when he started talking about going after whoever the attacker was, because she was like, that is not a we don't want that to happen. And I realized that that was kind of a theme throughout the book so far. Like even though the mother is like less involved in Joe's life, she still cares about him just as much as the father does, and they both want to protect him. That's why like the father was like, you can't go after him anymore because it's a risk for you, and I can't live without you. And so I was just like thinking about that and how both parents actually really care about him. But when in like chapter 5 when he was talking about, or he was with his mom, that was like one of the saddest parts. He was just like, can't you come back to life? And then she immediately said no. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so sad. Like, especially for a 13-year-old boy, like he just wants to go back to the life that he had before the accident. And I just, she can't see that possibility because of like the trauma that she's gone through. And I mean, it's understandable because it's awful, but it's taking a toll on everybody.
I will say though, sometimes reading this, I forget Joe is supposed to be 13. In my head, I just
Mm-hmm.
a lot
yeah.
older than what he is, and then the fact that uh, the way it's written like that is where he's, it starts the chapter out, he's working hard in the garden for his mom, and then it's, Mom, I want you to come back so we could be a family. It hits home because you're like, yeah, he is a 13-year-old boy who is,
Mm-hmm.
what is that, middle school? He's a middle school kid who misses his mom. He's an only child. He doesn't have any, like, his friends don't live too close or on a reservation, but even so, his father wants him to, stay safe and be at home. So he really just wants his mom back. And I don't know. I think that we get reminded at appropriate times in the story of, hey, he's 13 and he misses his mom. So
Yeah.
him doing all this work, all this kind of adventure stuff, and then he comes home at the end of the day and he's like, I just miss my mom. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And I like how the book, like you were saying, like that they put in like lighthearted moments, like in the when all this chaos is going on, they'll put in like him playing fetch with Pearl. That's just like a sweet moment, and or at least it was trying to be before Pearl decided not to play fetch anymore. But I thought that was just a really funny moment, and I was like, because you go right from a very sad situation right into him being frustrated and he's angry and he's wanting to just just do something else. So he just was like, all right, I'm gonna teach you how to play fetch. And I thought that was a good author choice, because that was just like a really cute thing to do.
All of his responses, though, are extremely accurate, again, for a 13-year-old boy to respond. He's angry. He wouldn't, he's not going to hop in a car and drive somewhere. He goes outside and he plays fetch with a dog he didn't want. Or, he mom, and instead of, getting upset and throwing stuff, he responds the 13-year-old way of just like breaking down saying, I miss my mom. So
Mm-hmm.
it's so believable. I know we talked about this last time, but just I'm reading it and I'm like, I can see everybody and it all makes sense, and it's very captivating because of that.
Mm-hmm. And
Can
he
we
like
talk?
bikes away. Very 13-year-old. I love that. It's so cute.
I don't want to be here anymore. He bikes off.
Play fetch with me.
So the file, there was no file.
Yeah,
Oh
you were
my God.
right. You were spot on that.
Yeah.
I read that and I
Or
remember And I was like, oh my gosh. So
Or so she says. We don't, like, she said there's no file, but was she lying? I don't
yeah,
know.
what's up with that? Is there an actual file and she's lying that she made it up, or was there actually no file and she slipped saying that? You know, there's something up with it.
There definitely is.
Because that's what I was trying to figure out. I was like, Savannah was right. There was no file. But then I was like, maybe she's lying to him. Because I think that she's withholding who the attacker is. It seems like evident when she's talking to him that she knows who attacked her, but doesn't want to like give him up to the authorities. I don't know, probably to keep her family safe or I don't know. But I thought about that. I just want to know what was so important that she had to go back that day.
Mm,
I'm hoping it comes full circle because I assume it does, just
Yeah.
how the path of this book is written. But oh my gosh, I just really want to know.
Yeah.
I'm also curious though if it might just be a coincidence, but I'm also curious if the doll with $40,000 has something to do with all this.
Yeah.
My gosh, what kind of luck does he have? Grandfather
Right.
says luck and he finds the fortune. My gosh.
That was really interesting. I didn't like expect that as another like side plot point, I guess, because there's already so much going on, and then you add in $40,000, and like you said, I hope it does all like connect somehow. But it's just
Yeah. I like how, yeah, I just wasn't expecting that either. I thought that they were just gonna like briefly mention that he saw something in the water and that was gonna be it. And like he was like, "Oh, I'm looking for some luck," and he had his little bird's leg. And I was like, "Oh yeah," and his granddad was like, "Yeah, that's probably not the best way to get luck." And you found a little more luck for sure.
I just like that he took it to his aunt too, and his aunt is the responsible adult, and she's like, "We're gonna go hide all this."
yeah.
And, doesn't even like tell her husband or tell the authorities. She's like, "We're gonna go hide all the money." She's like, "We're setting up a college fund for you, and we're gonna hide all the evidence."
Yeah. She's like, "You can never talk about this ever."
I will say though, even this is a little not regarding the line, but just even the little details about like how they reacted over it, like she was sweating so much that she had to change her shirts. Like that was such a good detail, and like she, was ironing the money to make sure it was real, and Joe's sitting on the bed like fiddling with like one of the bills. Like it's just so detailed for every little plot point, and it's just you're reading it and you're like, wow, this is so believable. And even though I don't think if someone said I found $40,000 I'd believe it, but just the little details that's like written in here, it's like this is so believable. Like I feel like he actually did that. So
Yeah. I liked the detail that her uncle like thinks that he owns the aunt. Like this kind of was almost just one of her ways of being like, I'm taking the money. I'm not going to tell you about the money. Like I'm going to go take the money with Joe and we're going to do whatever we want. We're going to be responsible with this. But I liked that detail. She was like, he doesn't own me. A good little cute moment.
I will say though, I know I caught this, but I had to go back and reread it. The bird's leg, and when his grandfather was talking about finding like what your luck is, I thought it was interesting that they talked about because I know for us we think like a rabbit's foot is good luck. But
Mm-hmm.
for Joe, it was talking about how his father and grandfather were either like ceremonially adopted or given like permission to be a part of this clan that represents the crane, so a bird. So for them specifically, a bird is good luck or a bird is family or something like that. So I thought that was a very good detail. Like when they were in the garden, I was like, that's a very subtle way to like put that in there that, it's different. And it also shows just a bit of like his culture. Because for us,
Mm-hmm.
for him, it'd be a bird. So
And
I
then
thought that was really good.
also you see like the mom also believing that she was having a boy whenever like the bird flew by. Like birds are like pretty prominent in this like little part that we read. It's just really interesting.
Mm-hmm. I love the callback to like nature and everything. I think that I just love whenever any book mentioned something about like nature. It's really nice. And yeah, especially like the birds. And I I thought it was really like it was funny when he was talking about his grandfather like getting caught in the net. It's just like I was like, what? I like his grandfather. His grandfather's such a funny character. Like he doesn't it's not like it doesn't try to be, but he's just a funny guy. He just sits there watching birds all day, making sure they don't get into his plants.
The book does it's a good job though because it all ties back to who Joe is though and where he's growing up, and so just little stuff like that's really good. And the grandfather is the what is the word he's unironically the comedy relief in a way. Like he just comes in at the appropriate time, and like
Mhm.
even earlier chapters when he was sitting with his aunt and uncle talking about what was going on, his grandfather was like, well, let's have a piece of pie while we're talking. Like he's just there to help, I think, just make everyone feel better. And it's he's just a
Mhm.
good character.
Yeah. A scene that I thought was, or a scene, I'm like as if I'm talking about a movie, a scene, like a moment in the book when that I thought was really good was when Joe, and because he had just told his dad that he had gone to the roundhouse, and his dad was obviously like, that's not allowed, but he didn't really he didn't really yell at him or like punish him. He was just like, you need to understand why you can't keep doing this. Like, I need to make you understand that this is dangerous for you if you keep like trying to do this, even though he found some evidence and his dad was really impressed by that. But his dad was still like, we have to leave this up to the authorities. And I think that leaving it up to the authorities is like a major reason why Joe keeps going after things like this or like going down different paths or following leads because he doesn't think that they're doing what they're supposed to. I don't know.
And also at one point, whenever his dad is like, "You have to stop doing this. You need to leave it up to the authorities." He's like, "You're the one who said that they don't send in like the FBI until like nobody wants it, and then they send in really bad people, and so we shouldn't even trust them in the first place." And his dad was like, "I said that," and it's like, "Yeah." And so it's just
Yeah.
it, his father's saying that, but he obviously has a different motive. He just wants to keep Joe safe, and he wants, and like that's also his mother's wishes, and so he's trying to honor those. And so I just like that because it all comes back to family.
Mhm.
I'm also starting to wonder though is as much as Joe is his whole community is very active in what happened to his mother. We see very little of the authorities trying to help, and I'm starting to wonder. This is kind of maybe a what is the word, like going out on a limb kind of guess, but I'm starting to wonder if someone maybe in their government or the government maybe was like a part of this, or if maybe someone in law enforcement, just because we're seeing little to no like tribal activity like from their tribal police or even state police. And I'm just
Mhm.
kind of wondering if did somebody do something, maybe, I don't know, because it talks a lot about jurisdiction, how it's hard to get a case, someone to take a case like this. But I figure, this is what, like a month or so after, like it's been several weeks and nobody's done anything yet except for Joe. So that's just my kind of throwing it out there guess. So we'll see.
This is an interesting theory. I hadn't thought about that.
I thought like maybe like the attacker had somebody that was working with him in the law enforcement. I'm not really sure. Maybe he had something on somebody in the law enforcement. I wasn't really thinking about it though because in the who was the FBI agent? His last name I can't pronounce it. It's like the
I say Bizarre,
sure
but I
yeah,
can't pronounce it.
because he came in right at the end of chapter 7, I think, and um but I haven't heard that much from him throughout the book. I
There's
don't
also
really know what
oh, sorry, you finish.
would you say?
I was just gonna say it's also interesting because we are reading it from Joe's perspective, and I think in his mind, especially, the authorities were doing absolutely nothing. And even if like they were doing something, to Joe, they're not doing anything. And so I think that that might be also like a narrator bias type thing. But I
Mhm.
also not doing that much. But it's just interesting because of the perspective that you're hearing the story from.
Right.
I'm also curious though because we as in the readers who are reading this, we know that this was obviously a planned attack. Like it wasn't just somebody who was like, "Yep, I'm," it was planned to be Joe's mother. So, is it possible that though one person was the attacker, that several people are behind it? Is it somebody who, maybe has already been in their life, but then I don't know. I was going back to what you were just saying that maybe somebody in the government or I don't know, police forces behind it, but I don't know. Maybe somebody who couldn't get jurisdiction for a previous case that Joe's father made the final call on is trying to get revenge. I don't know. There's so many possibilities because of just how he, as a lawyer, has touched people's lives. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting because I was thinking like the only motive that like that we've been considering so far has been revenge. But like what if there was like a different motive? I mean, maybe I mean it's pretty possible that it was just revenge for like something that the dad had jurisdiction over or something like that. But I don't know, I think that there could be other motives. I don't know what they are, but maybe I don't know. I've been just thinking like, is revenge the only play? Like, is that the only reason that the attacker could have attacked her that day?
You just said that. That's the only thing in my mind that I've been thinking that this was a planned attack for revenge. It may not have been,
Yeah.
you know. You just threw everything under the bus. But yeah, that's right. It could be something else.
Yeah, we don't really know. I mean, we get a little bit of background on the mom like before the attack, but we don't really know that much about her like in college, about because she came back from college and moved back to the reservation. So we don't really know what happened there. We don't really know like the events that were leading up to this day.
Yeah,
So I don't know.
we only get information really about the dad's job. We still really don't know what she does. We know that she is like a one woman kind of like she is like her own kind of branch of whatever she does, but we really don't know what she does. We know she has
Hmm.
an office somewhere, but that's about all we know. So yeah, don't even really know what she does, who she deals with. So ooh, now I kind of hope it's something like that, just because the book is so well written to make us think it's one thing. Ooh,
Hmm.
okay,
Because
what's your?
we've been like the book has been set up to where we thought that it's gonna be revenge because he goes through the files of people that he's angered. Like he goes through and he's like, yeah, I mean, I probably angered these people. These people are probably mad at me too. And so we have to assume that it'd be like on his end that they would be angry and then they like have this premeditated attack on her. But I was just thinking, what if it's something different? Like what if someone was jealous that she didn't pick him? I don't know. But I was just trying to think of different things different motives that the person could have had.
I thought it was interesting because whenever Linda was telling Joe and his father about Lynn, um, she said that Lyndon told her about a girl that he liked. And it described a person that I thought kind of sounded like Joe's mother, but I wasn't really sure because again, like we don't really know that much about her background. But in my head, I thought that it was Joe's mother, and then that gave him motive because he was upset that he didn't get to like have her or date her or whatever. But also, like, I don't know their age, I don't know anything like that. But I think it's Lyndon. I really do. He seems angry and he seems just
Mhm.
like a bad person.
I know I'm looking for these book misdirects now. I'm like, oh, which are they just setting us up to believe that it's supposed to be this or not? And Yeah, I think last time we went through and we were trying to say who we thought the attacker was, but so far up until chapter 7, I think that they've set it up to where Lyndon's probably the best, like, or the most likely to be the suspect right now. At least that's my opinion. I don't know about what you guys are thinking.
But I mean,
I
who
will
knows?
say
A
though,
random person.
what you just said, Maddie, though, I'm thinking about that. That's such a subtle like clue that if it is him, that sets it up so well for the rest of the book. But
Mhm.
that was good. I didn't even catch that the first time, but just what we know based off the mom, that's really good. I will say though too, this is such a slight comment, but did anybody else laugh when it was I kept calling her Grace, by the way. I know it's Linda now, but I just laughed really hard that her name was Linda and her twin was Lyndon.
Yeah.
I don't know why that was funny to me, but it almost felt like because her mother didn't know they were having twins, and then they had the boy, which is who they wanted and kept, and then they had her, so it's kind of just like, oh, we had this name Lyndon, oh well, Linda, like that just made me laugh, and I know it's kind of mean, but I don't know. I
Yeah,
thought
because
it was a good way to like show that she didn't really have as much love or as much effort put into her life from that family. So
I think they said that Lyndon was named after like their grandfather or like someone that was a family member. So then she was like, "Oh, was I named after somebody in our family?" And then they were like, "No, we kind of just like changed your name from like a version of Linda or like Lyndon to Linda." And I was like, "That's yeah." I thought that was kind of funny too.
I feel so bad for her. Her family abandons her, and then they only call her up to see if she's a match for her brother to get a kidney.
I was so angry. I was so mad.
Like at first I was like, okay, well, she's trying to reconnect, it's not great, but and then she was like, your brother needs a kidney. And I was like, okay, this is like, you're just the worst.
And
She said
then
like her. What do you say?
on top of it too, her brother insulted her like, oh, I want your deformed kidney. And I was like, what?
Exactly. I wrote the brother is the worst in my notes. I was like, he is the worst.
Oh my
Like she's
God.
trying to do a nice thing for you and you're like insulting her and laughing at her. That's so mean.
It was so bad.
But yeah, when she was meeting with the mom and the mom was like kind of leading up to the kidney part, it was like she was really emotional, everything, and then it said like her tears dried up. And I was like, huh? And then it was like, yeah, he needs a kidney. And I was like, what? So you just tricked her into coming here just to ask for a kidney?
There was also though with that, it was even he got a kidney because he drank too much too. It wasn't even like a medical thing. And that even made me mad too. So it's like you wasted away yourself knowing what you were doing, and then you call up the sister that you have abandoned to make fun of her some more in person, call her all these horrible things, but then like demand a kidney. And I was like, ooh, what a villain. Such a villain.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah, they said he like overdosed on pills and alcohol because he was like trying to commit suicide, I think. I think that's what it said, but yeah, I don't really know how fair it was for the family to just assume that after abandoning her all those years ago and just like right when she was born, before like the nurse had like kind of almost like saved her life, they were like, "Oh, we don't want her. We just don't want her." And I was like, the audacity for them to come back after all these years and be like, "Yeah, we needed something from you." Oh, it made me so mad.
Her mother was like, but it's your brother. Like, we reconnected, didn't we? I bought you dinner, didn't we? And I'm like, that doesn't make up for years of abandonment, being absent. Oh, like, it made me so mad. And I was so happy she didn't, like, go through with it. Like, she went and she was a match, and then she's like, no, I'm not going to. So,
Oh, maybe I misinterpreted that. I thought that she did go through with it.
She did too.
I don't think so. I think she was just a match.
I thought that she went through with it, and then when she got sick afterwards, she said that only her real family came back to help her, like her friends and family. I mean, maybe I read it wrong.
Yeah, yeah. I think you're right.
Oh, okay.
Really didn't want her to do
Oh,
it.
that's even worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she did go through with it. She ended up helping him out, and then when I think something happened afterwards to where like she was like the surgery had given her what'd you say, Maddie?
Got an infection.
Yeah, an infection.
Oh my gosh, that's even worse. I read it as she got sick when she was at the hospital getting tested for it. And that's even worse. That's just I hate that whole family. Like you have the audacity and then she gets sick with something. My gosh, just the absolute worst.
Yeah,
Okay.
not good people.
Oh. That's why the book is just, they're setting up Lyndon again. And that's why, in a way, I'm almost hoping it's not him because he's so much of a villain that he almost seems too perfect to have done this. Like, I don't know. It's such a good book. It's just, ooh, so much. Dang.
Yeah, I'm kind of I know that like we've met a lot of characters so far, but I don't know if we've even met the attacker. I mean, we still got a little bit of the book left, so there's a possibility that we haven't even met him yet.
Yeah.
Or like it was somebody that the mom had met years before, the dad I don't know. That's just so interesting. I love books like this where it's kind of like a mystery the entire time. Or not the entire time, but for a good portion of the book.
I'm wondering how they're going to find out, too. Is Joe going to stumble on something? Is the mom going to outright say it one day, Are they going to find some evidence tied to somebody? So even that's going to be exciting because, we even don't know how they're going to find out. So good.
And even if they do find out, what are they going to be able to do about it? Like, who's going to have jurisdiction?
I think I'll be the most upset if the person who did it isn't like punished at all. And I don't think that they're going to be. And that makes me upset.
Yeah. The possibility that, yeah, if they go free. I'm not handled for that. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. Can't do that.
Yeah, I forgot that that's a problem too. Is that though, even through all this of finding the person, it's even Joe and his dad have said it. Well, when we find him, what are we gonna do? It's not like they can take him to somewhere. It's just it's so sick. It's sickening that could happen. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I thought that the father Travis part was so funny. I know that they were like doing like a little stakeout, but the fact that they just watched Alien like through through the window, they were like calling it a stakeout, but really they were just sitting there watching the movie with him. That was so funny.
That's another part there where it's written so well that we forget that he's 13 until he and his friends sit around and watch a sci-fi movie when they're supposed to be doing something. Like that was funny. And then when they circled and followed him, and then they were like, "Is he using the bathroom now?" And changing. Oh my gosh.
There were just so many funny moments in these chapters. And then I liked that once he finally caught them, who was it, Angus, who lied about who he was? It was one of his friends. I can't remember which one, but he was like, he lied. He said something completely different than who he was. I thought that was so funny.
Pull leg. He goes, "My last name is Pull leg." And then Thomas pulled his leg. Oh gosh.
I liked when they were trying to run or like bicycle through the dogs, and all the dogs kept like jumping. I know they were trying to like fight off the dogs, but I was just imagining that in my head, like a couple of 13-year-old boys with like a stick in their hand.
And that's one of those things too, is I'm sure in real life it wasn't as dramatic as 13-year-old Joe is making it out to be. He's like, dogs surrounded us, we had nowhere to go. But in reality, they probably could have just walked around them.
Yeah. And then they end up just getting saved by the person coming out and feeding them. That was so funny. I think I talked about this in my plot description and like questions thing that we turned in. But one of the kind of little quotes that I thought was important was when Joe was talking to his dad, and he was just talking about how just him and his dad alone are the only people who are really going to be able to figure this out, and how nobody else really cares like they do. And then he said that they just wanted to return to like the before, but like before was like capitalized. And I just really liked that part because it kind of showed how much the family had changed since the beginning of the book, and how after she was attacked, the only thing that they've been interested in is getting back to where they were before. And like that's the only thing that they want to know who did it, but they're also really wanting to get back that family dynamic that they've lost. That was just something I thought that was interesting.
I'm happy they've kept that theme throughout the book. It's not just Joe is not seeking just revenge. It's I want my mom to be okay again. So.
You can see like a lot of tension between them, like or growing tension, just because when he was talking about how his dad grounded him for kind of like running away from home, just really just like leaving for the day. He said that he got grounded and that he didn't like that because he was stuck at home with his mom. I think he used the word corpse of a mother, and I was like, that's really harsh, but like I can see how everything has impacted him and how he doesn't really see her in the same way anymore. She's more just of a person who looks like his mom, but she just like isn't really involved in his life as much as she used to be.
And I think in the chapters that we read, you see how he gets more angry. Like, he gets really angry with his father and he gets really angry with his mother. Like he hasn't really before. And I think it's just like, he wants to go back to before so bad that he's starting to get angry. He's a 13-year-old boy. He has anger. I just thought that was interesting because I think those emotions were portrayed really, really well.
I agree. I really liked the part, like I liked how the majority of one of the chapters we read was about Linda's story. I really liked her story because even Joe was like getting genuinely interested, and his dad was really just like, I need you to talk to her so that we can find out more about like her biological family and everything. But Joe was actually interested in like her background and everything, and I thought that was important because I don't know how many people would really stop to like listen to her, and like she seemed like so touched that he was taking an interest in her. And I thought that was really sweet because like after being like abandoned by her biological family and she had to go into I think it was foster care for a while before or I no her adopted mother like immediately adopted her, but then didn't she like get taken out of that home temporarily? I was like, this is I liked how it focused on her family. It was really interesting.
Yeah, I agree because I think it's also, like it was an intricate detail to Joe, and that made it an intricate detail to the readers. And so I agree. I really like that part.
Hmm.
I also noticed, and I don't know if I'm like over analyzing, but almost every time they tell like stories and stuff, they're eating ice cream. And like even in Linda's story, she was while she was telling it, she was eating ice cream and she was talking about eating ice cream with her mother. And I just thought that it was like, I don't know, a nice little symbol that didn't, and, it didn't mean that much, but
Hmm.
storytelling.
That's interesting. I hadn't even thought about that.
This might be a little bit of a cheat because I didn't read it, but I'm thinking, just looking at the next chapter, it's a very big chapter. I'm thinking something big's gonna happen plot wise. So I don't know. That's kind of a cheat, but just
I think
curious.
it's possible that we find out who did it because I think that part of the book is going
Mm.
to be like the jurisdictional issues after they catch the person. So
Mhm.
I think we might actually find out who did it in the next chapter, but I could be wrong.
Hopefully. It's just an entire chapter of his grandfather. Please. I love his grandfather. Oh, kind of going back to like the like Linda's story. I thought that this was kind of maybe I'm like reading too much into this, but she said that once her mother had died, her adopted mother, and like she was like home alone. She said that she got like a cat, I think, or not a cat. She has a dog, right?
Yeah.
Um, because and then she said like she still feels like a presence around her, and so I was like, presence, ghost. I don't know. Maybe it's the same thing.
And then,
Maybe I'm reading too much into that, but
and then she thought that it was Lyndon.
oh,
She was like, part of me was like left in him or something. I don't really remember. But she thought that it was like him trying to escape his mother at one point, which I thought was interesting because
yeah, that is interesting.
I like her.
I'm still so interested in the ghost. I want to know what it is. I need to know who it is, if it's a person, what it is.
I thought it was interesting that his grandfather didn't think that it was a person, though, which I think
Mhm.
makes it even more mysterious. Like, what on earth could it possibly have been?
Yeah. Nobody that he's talked to about it has thought that it was a person. So, I don't know. I think
But
that's
correct that it was a person too, because if again is the book setting us up to believe that it is a ghost, but it's not. That's something else to think about.
I like how it matched Randall's description of who, like, of this figure that had been looking at Joe. I don't know if we talked about that last time, but it like perfectly matched his description. It was like silver, it was like looking up at him, and I'm really interested to figure out what that is, or if it's actually a person instead.
Oh, there's also one part where Joe kind of broke from his like narrative voice and he like talked directly to the audience, which I thought was interesting. I like that part. Um, I don't remember what he was talking about, but he's like, as you can probably tell, like I'm writing this in the future and da da da, you know. And I just thought that that was like a nice little detail that the author added, and I really liked it.
Yeah, he was like, if you have read this far, I was like, whoa, we're we're breaking that wall, I guess. Yeah. I'm a little bit confused by the end. Maybe it was just me because his dad was talking to the FBI agent and then apparently he got a citation. What does that entail? Like, is he gonna get punished for that? Like,
He said that it mentioned juvie, but I don't think that they're actually gonna put him in juvie.
right, for like drinking a beer. I mean, I know it's underage drinking, but still,
And they don't
I
really have
don't
proof either. Like he said that there was a pack of beer and he
know. But
no.
then they destroyed it, so
I don't like that he got the citation before he admitted to drinking the beer, though. He said, "We found beer. Where are the cans crushed up?" I know that it kind of implies it, but I mean, he didn't straight out. They could have just been, they could have emptied them or something.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that might have just been a little minor thing, but I didn't like that the guy writ him up a citation for juvie without him, saying anything other than there were cans, but we destroyed them. So,
yeah.
And then his father, whenever he was walking away, his dad was like, "Do you smell beer on his breath?" And then the FBI agent was like, "No."
Yeah. But I was kind of a little more confused about when he went upstairs. I don't know, maybe it was just like the end where it was said that he saw like an angel on the wall, but then it caught on fire or something like that. Like he saw like a shadow of like an angel.
Yeah. I was confused too.
hmm
there
It was like
is,
the
was it a crane? I think.
um
A crane like flew by and it was talking about how like that was what his mother made, you know, her think that she was having a boy. And then it said that the like the shadow cast an angel or something. I don't really.
yeah, it said I watched the shadow through some refraction. The brilliance, the wings arched up from the slender body, then the feathers took fire, so the creature was consumed by light. I was like, a little confused by that part.
So, because yeah,
I wonder if it's like a guardian angel or like something to that effect. Because it talks about, because it says like the crane that his mother used to watch or its offspring cast this shadow that looked like an angel. So I wonder if that's like related to the ghost or something. And it's
hmm
his guardian angel. I don't really know. But I was confused too. I was like, what caught on fire?
Yeah, because if your guardian angel was catching on fire, I'm sure that's that's not good luck. That doesn't sound good. I really the part about the money, that's still so interesting to me. I wonder who would put money in a baby doll and then sink it underwater.
Yeah, I was trying to think about whose it was. And like obviously we don't know everybody that's living in their town or anything, but I was like, who would put $40,000 into a baby doll?
hmm
Like
And then
that's
submerge it. Yeah.
my thing too is who has $40,000 that they can just not use.
right.
Like we
Mhm.
know from earlier chapters that a lot of his community, I wouldn't say is poor, but no one's rich. Like nobody's rich in this. So you sunk the baby doll in the middle of like this, this reservation. Who here couldn't pay $40,000? So I'm hoping it
Yeah.
comes full circle too with that money as well. Do you think it's possible that the mother hid it from somebody and the attacker, maybe something like that? Like that's just an idea. Like
Ooh,
maybe
yeah.
she was hiding that money
Possibility.
So it's
in a
all
baby
full
doll.
circle, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a possibility. That's interesting. I didn't think about that.
Didn't they say it was by the lake, by the roundhouse? So it's like she was out there hiding it when
Yeah.
then they found her. They're like, "Where is it?" She's like, "I don't have it." And then what happened. It's just a
Yeah,
theory. That's another kind of going on a limb, but
yeah.
That's an interesting idea, though.
But kind of going back to what you were saying earlier, Savannah, about like whether or not people can afford to not have like, or like who has that type of money. Like it was really interesting that we picked this book to read because in one of my classes we were actually talking, we were in a unit about Native Americans, and we were talking about how unemployment rates on reservations are way higher than they are like in the United States. So I don't, and like I just think that was interesting because yeah, who can afford to, who has like $40,000? And if you have it, then why would you hide it somewhere? I don't know.
I wonder if it has something to do with like distrusting the government because of like banks and stuff. Um,
hmm
but it's still a really interesting place to hide $40,000 and a like in a baby doll. But I wonder if that has some play on it, or I also wonder if there was maybe originally even more money than that, and they're like coming to the lake to get the money out of the baby doll. But
hmm
no, it's really interesting.
I like to this. What'd you say?
I was like, how big is the baby doll that you could fit $40,000 in it? It's kind of a big doll.
Yeah,
How big is this baby doll? Even even though it's $100 bills, that's like
It's a lot of money
a
still.
nice little stack of money, and it's rolled.
yeah. I liked how he was thinking that it was gonna be like $1 bills, and then it was like she was counting it. She was like, "These are $100 bills."
So I'm pretty sure when he took the baby doll head off, there was nothing in the head of the baby doll either. So it's just the body of it. So I don't know how.
hmm
And also, what bothers me though too is that you're hiding paper money underwater. I don't care how secure you think I don't know, however secure you think the doll is. Like, I would not be hiding that much money in water for however long it was there for, you know?
hmm
And I guess the fact that it was like, because I think that he said that it was damp, it could have like just been put there if it was only damp. Because I feel like it would have been like soaking wet if it had been there for a really long time.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, I don't know. Underwater is just a very interesting place to hide money. But I guess the purpose of like the baby doll was just to keep it a little dry.
Or
I
maybe
will say though,
it's your
what
baby
you
doll.
just said, Maddie, though, how it might have just been put there. Because I'm going back to, didn't the police search the lake? So they not only missed an oil drum, but possibly a baby doll with $40,000.
That's
Like,
a good point. Because if it had been there, like you would think, because it was like underneath the dock, right? Kind of just like floating there. I feel like that's something that you would see. So clearly,
Yeah.
either they didn't search very well, or the baby doll is more recent, which
hmm
they didn't search that well. But
Yeah. Either the law enforcement is like somehow involved in this, or like somebody on the law enforcement, or maybe they're just really not trying that well to find this evidence. But well, that's we're assuming that the baby doll has anything to do with the case. I mean, I think that it probably does, but it could be unrelated.
yeah, it might be, but I mean, this book is just so full of mysteries we don't know. But I just personally, my guess is that it has to be tied into it. I just don't know how, in where he lives with the people he lives with, who is going to be tossing $40,000 trying to hide that money. Because even in the beginning of the book, it talked about like the bingo hall and having big bingo wins and how people would go out and celebrate. So this is these are like a community of people who, like, when they win big, they give back to the community. So who is hiding that much money?
Mhm. And why are they hiding it?
Yeah.
And also, like, the author is so meticulous. I feel like it definitely is involved. Like, I feel like the author wouldn't just add it in as like a random side plot. I think it'll connect.
Just sets him up for the future. That'd be nice.
Like, I use the money to go to college, and that's just all you hear about it.
I like that his aunt took him to like several different banks though, so that none would be like very suspicious about it. And they were like, "Oh, he won big in bingo. Oh, he had like a relative die, and they got a lot of money and everything." I thought that was interesting. It's fun.
That is smart though, because even she was taking on signing for it being the adult. Like, they obviously they check the money so it's real, but then it's if someone shows up and you like know the person. I know because I talked about going to a couple of their banks. It's like, how did you we know you're not rich. Where are you getting this money from? So I'm hoping that comes into play too, is that like they split up the money. And I don't know. She knew what she was doing though, so that was smart on her behalf.
There was no hesitation on her end. She was like, "Money, bank," and he was like, "Can we at least keep like one $100 bill out?" And she was like, "No, not at all."
He goes, I just wanted the same shoes Cappy had. And she's like, no.
Yeah. Yep. Another thing that I kind of like stopped, or I forgot to mention in the beginning, was when they were talking about like the flowers at first and how they were dying. I liked that um his dad decided to grow them back. Like he was like, "No, we can't have this happen. We can't have her like feel like she's neglecting or we're neglecting these flowers, you know?" So,
I think I did talk about that in one of my questions though, is that the flowers were like she is the flower. She's dying off, but they're literally doing everything they can. He drove off the reservation to buy special like seeds or like pottery for her, and that like made me want to cry because I'm like, he loves her so much.
yeah. But then when Joe went up there to tell her that they were like growing the or that they were fixing up the garden, she was just asking them what they were digging and if they were digging like a grave or something. And I was like, that's so morbid. Why would you assume that they were just gonna dig a grave? And for who? Like, is she referring to herself? Like, as in, because they said that she had been losing a lot of weight and that she had been like not eating at all.
Yeah, no, I thought the same thing. I was like, that's a weirdly morbid thing to say to your kid when you're,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but mm.
We didn't really mention when Joe had gone to church and then he was out at the playground. The priest just like came up to him. I was kind of like, that like got me a little nervous because I was like, oh no, he's out here alone and he just sent his friend away to go get Cappy.
I know, me too. Because
I
that
love.
you go ahead.
Wait, you go first. No, you go.
Okay. Because at that point, I was like pretty suspicious of Father Travis. And it made me really concerned because I thought that he was gonna like hurt him or something whenever he asked for his alibi. And
Mm-hmm.
I think Father Travis is a really interesting character.
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think I really like him, but I think that he brings, you know, something to the book, obviously. And
Yeah.
That whole scene, though, like as tense as it was, I just was like laughing because you have known the guy for an all of like 10 seconds and you're like, where were you this day? Are you sure you're telling the truth? Like, he goes to question him. And then after it's all over, he sits back down in the same spot and eats potato salad out of like a bread bag, just like watching the priest. And that made me laugh so hard. Just all of that. And I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm also kind of hoping that we get more of Father Travis. I'm hoping that he comes back in later in the story and he kind of like maybe either helps Joe or I don't know. Just such a like unusual character that I'm hoping that he does something big because he's just so different and you don't think he is. But I don't know. I liked his backstory and he was talking about, you know, like it was like he obviously was in the military, so he knows what hurt is. Like he was telling Joe, and he's like, I almost was gonna marry this woman, but it didn't work out because I left her because I didn't want her to like be like he has this whole thing about pain and suffering. So I'm kind of hoping he comes back into it and like does something to help. So we'll
Yeah.
see.
and the boys kind of think that he's awesome now. And so I definitely think that he might become like a mentor of some sort. And I think that would be really cool to see.
Because he didn't rat them out. He didn't tell their parents that they were like outside of his house looking in, like trespassing and everything. And I thought that it was so funny when he was cursing at them, but like saying the most random things. It was so funny. Yeah, I think he's a really interesting character. And yeah, like what you were saying, I think hopefully he'll be like a mentor of some sort, help come into the book.
I like that they referred to him as they were talking about the girls in the town called him Father What a Waste. Like that that was so mean, but like that's such a 13-year-old boy thing to say. Like
Mm.
Father What a Waste.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you have like fake teeth too, I think. I think that's what they said. Or that's what Joe had assumed anyway.
Mm. It was like they were too perfect to like be real or something like that.
Hmm. I think the timing of him showing up is interesting though. Not like that I suspect him as like being the attacker, but I think that's definitely the way like the author wanted us to assume that he was like kind of guilty because he's new. He's new in town. And and like I don't know, I guess that's just what people assume. They assume the worst. You don't know somebody, I guess you just assume the worst.
Also just how quickly rumors spread because they got that idea from a friend who's so a friend of a friend who was like, yeah, like I'm pretty sure like in the Catholic religion you have to have like a burning sacrifice and then Joe being 13 was like he was gonna burn down the roundhouse. So just how quickly like just ooh.
Yeah.
And I wonder how that would have been different, that whole conversation, if Joe was like 18 or 21 and not 13. So,
Hmm.
so it's just a very, 13-year-old, just like, you know what? Yes, this one coincidence, 100% that makes him guilty. Like yeah, like that's, ooh. It makes
So I feel like
sense.
I feel like the narration is a little bit different than some of his actions. Like his actions are more childlike because he's 13. Like he's telling this from when he's older. So obviously he's grown and matured but when like he's little, he's like, yeah, we gotta go stake out everything. We have to go investigate this ourselves. And I just like how it's kind of like a contrast between his like youth versus when he's older and he's already like gone through everything. He's just retelling the story.
Yeah, I agree. Because there's some points in the book where like he's so eloquent with his words, and so like, like well detailed and just thought out and stuff that it's like it comes back to you forget he's 13 in the story that's happening, and then you go back to like the little incidences like when the boys are joking around the lake and you're like, oh yeah, like they're 13 years old. It's just really good writing.
I think if this was all like in the present, it would have been like kind of written in a way it didn't make sense. But because we already have established that he's much older telling the story, it works so wonderfully. Because it's like trying to think about stuff, you can, tweak memories or practice how you want to say something if you're telling a story. And then when he gets to the part, it's like, oh yeah, we were at the lake, and so we decided to just jump in and swim. Like you're like, oh yeah, he is 13, so. I was just reiterating what you both said, but yeah.
I think that was all that I had to say over chapters that we read, or the only points that I wanted to make.
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, I think I'm good too.
Okay, I'll
I
stop
like
there.
that we all come in with like the same ideas. We're like, we have to talk about this.